what stride piano isn't, part 2. We are back, and another example that I'd like to give is when people will copy a player piano roll and play it and say that they're playing stride piano. Well, you know, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but it doesn't mean that you're actually playing the style to duplicate the figures from a piano roll. Here's a little bit of a duplication from an old Fats Waller piano roll of the 20s, Clarence Williams tune called Nobody But My Baby. Okay, now that is a reproduction of a piano roll from the 1920s, made by one of the great stride innovators, Fats Waller. But because you can duplicate the notes from a piano roll and play it live, doesn't necessarily mean it's swinging in the stride style. And of course, Fats, as a lot of researchers know, was not only skilled in stride piano and songwriting, but also in classical music and organ playing. He was a multifaceted talent. But a lot of people think that because you play something that sounds like a player piano, that you're playing stride. Not necessarily true. When I was in high school, I took a couple of lessons from a lady in Pasadena, California, that advertised learn how to play popular piano. So I went and took a couple of lessons, and she had a system where you would play a broken tenth in the left hand, because she had small hands and she had long fingernails that were painted so she couldn't play straight, she had to play flat-handed. So I think this was developed just for her style. And you had to break your tenth, and an afterbeat chord and a low note, break the tenth, and then the right hand was, it could be any popular tune that was ever written, all done in the same style. And it was... A lot of people in the 1960s thought, well, maybe that was stride piano. Maybe, maybe not, depending on the inflections and depending on what happens when you perform that certain series of notes and the combination of the right hand and left hand working together. But dotted rhythm figures in the right hand and broken tenths in the left hand do not necessarily make a stride piano piece. Then one of my first jobs after college, I was playing the nighttime schedule in a restaurant in Los Angeles, and the cocktail hour piano player was an older fellow who advertised himself as the best blankety blank piano player in the United States. He was supposed to play solo, but he actually did a duo. He sat at the piano and played, and his friend Jack Daniels sat right on top of the upright piano. So they worked together very well. We often thought that once he got going, he sounded like a player piano with paper rolls that had gotten off the track. And some people thought, well, maybe he was playing stride piano. And he would play something like this. Break down in the middle of what he was doing, and all of a sudden the musicians in the audience would utter a communal moan as the entire sound would deteriorate. But that was his own personal approach to the art of two-handed piano playing. Also, I want to dispel a favorite myth that if you can sit down and play a famous tune by a famous stride piano player, that you're playing stride piano. Now, if you can sit down and go, can sit down and play Ain't Misbehavin' by Fats Waller, or If I Could Be With You by James P. Johnson, and do it with a swing bass and just play the melody in the right hand, again, that's not really playing the stride piano style. You're simulating the style that is not at that point in its purest form. Another misconception is that if somebody can play something really, really fast with the left hand supporting the right hand, that's stride piano. And that's not necessarily so. In other words, if you're going to play James P. Johnson's Steeplechase Rag or Over the Bars, but if you can go, it has a completely different feel when you play it like that. You know, the misconception is that you could play anything fast. You could play Maple Leaf Rag super fast, or the 12th Street Rag, or something by James P. Johnson, and because it's fast, it's stride piano. Not necessarily so. What we'd like to do is we would like to elicit comments from all of you on what you think is stride piano and what isn't stride piano. So let's have some of your responses on YouTube, and we'll continue this discussion and see where it all ends up. Okay, we'll wait to hear from you.